汝、宝刀と呼ばれしくせ者。怪物の打倒を誓いし盟友と共に、我が元に引き連れよ。さすれば扉を開かん。
Alright, let's see what's going on for these guys. I shall grant to you a memory fragment and my blessing. One month after the collapse of the Libra Arc, the banquet to celebrate the successful resolution was over, with Estelle and her friends having largely left the capital to go elsewhere. One of them, however, Prince Oliver Rhys Arnor, sat rather comfortably in the ambassador's office in Grand Cell's Erebonian embassy, his work in the country not quite settled. I can't believe that you... I mean, my deepest apologies for not noticing that you are His Highness Prince Oliver sooner. Oh, I'm not surprised you never realized. I may be a prince, but my mother was a commoner. What point is there in bothering to remember my face? It's not as though I often showed myself in the palace or attended high society gatherings. Knowing me certainly isn't going to help you in moving up the ranks, my friend. There's no need to be so humble, Your Highness. Besides, I'm actually rather grateful to you, Ambassador. You gave me all kinds of useful advice during my stay here at the embassy that I'm sure will be to my benefit in the future. Well, meant words such as, act like a man of the Empire for once in your life, and stop idling here, go home, and try doing some damned work. Your Highness, I was only... Your Highness, I think you've tormented him enough for one day. The ambassador behaved in the same way any other sane man would in his position. If anything, I say he has every right to be angry at us for keeping the truth from him for so long. But Mueller... I suppose you're right. I'll spare him any more teasing for now. I actually wasn't joking about being grateful to you, though. You truly have done admirable work over the past month. I have?
本国との綿密な連絡、在留帝国人の安否の確認、国際定期船の運航再開への協力。
Acting as a pipeline with the Empire, checking the safety of the Erebonians residing in Libro, helping the international liner service to resume.
その他、多岐にわたる案件をよくぞこなしてくれた。
And those are only the tip of the iceberg. You've done so much more.
本当にご苦労だったね。
You have my deepest thanks as a prince of the Empire.
もったいないお言葉。
I am not worthy of such praise, Your Highness.
殿下こそ危険極まる視察。本当にお疲れ様でございました。
You, however, deserve the utmost for braving the danger you did flying up to the Libra Arc.
どうやらこたびの一件は本国でも相当な騒ぎになっていた様子。
All of what happened seems to have caused quite the commotion in our homeland.
今では危機が去ったことが伝わり、皆安堵に包まれているとか。
So the people seem to be rather relieved now that they know the danger is past.
それもこれも全て殿下のご英断の賜物でしょう。
It's all thanks to your courage that they are able to rest easy.
今さらおだてる必要はないさ。
Oh, there's no point in flattering me, Ambassador.
私はただ自分ができることをやっただけに過ぎない。
I just did what I could, nothing more, nothing less.
しかも自分の力ではなく、周りの状況を利用する形でね。
And I couldn't have done anything alone. All I was able to accomplish was thanks to the help of those around me.
こう言ってはなんだが、質実剛健な帝国人気質からはかけ離れているかもしれないな。
I'm fairly removed from the stereotype of Erebonians as stern, strong, and self-sufficient, if I do say so myself.
失礼を承知で申し上げれば
As
確
rude,
かにそうかもしれませんな。
as rude as it may be to agree, perhaps you're correct.
ですが今回の件に関してはそうした殿下の柔軟な発想が良き結果をもたらしたのでしょう。
And yet, I believe your willingness to be flexible most definitely helped rather than hindered you here.
これからの帝国にはまさに殿下のような方が必要になるのかもしれませんな。
I believe people like you are exactly what the Empire is going to need in the future.
最小閣下のやり方とはまた別にして
Regardless of how I may feel about His Excellency the Chancellor's approach,
大使
Ambassador,
ほう、てっきりあなたは鉄血宰相殿の支持者かと思っていたのだが、
well, this is a surprise. I was under the impression that you supported the Chancellor.
やはり貴族たる身にとって最小閣下の改革路線は反対かね。
Then again, you are a noble. Does that lead you to oppose his reformist policies, perhaps?
貴族とは言ってもしがない男爵位でしかありません。
I may be a noble on paper, but I'm only a baron.
オズボーン閣下の改革路線も基本的には支持しておりますよ。
All in all, I generally fall in favor of his reformist policies.
ですが私もいささかリベールに毒されすぎているようですな。
Be that as it may, while this may just be the result of being in Libro for so long and being influenced by the ways of its people,
たまに閣下の剛腕ぶりが怖くなることがあるのです。
I do sometimes find myself becoming frightened by his hardline approach.
一体どこにエレボニアという古き帝国を連れて行こうとしているのかと。
I can't help but wonder exactly what direction he's trying to take our old nation.
なるほどね。
Interesting.
殿下
Your Highness?
いや、最後にこのような有意義な話ができてよかった。
Oh, I was just thinking that I'm quite glad to have taken the chance to engage in such fruitful talk with you just before departing the country.
今後も諸国の平和のため尽力してもらえるとありがたい。
I pray you will continue doing all you can to ensure the peace of Libro and its surrounding nations while I'm gone,
できればカルバードと協力してね。
preferably in cooperation with Ambassador Cochrane.
これは一本取られましたな。
Yes, let's not forget her, I suppose.
確かに不戦条約以来クロスベル問題は具体的な進展を見せ始めているようです。
Still, it's true that since the non-aggression pact was signed, there's been some progress with regards to the cross-bell problem.
提唱したのがリベールである以上自分の役割は想像以上に大きい。
And given that it was Libro who proposed said pact, that makes my role in future negotiations very important indeed.
つまりそういうことですな。
I presume that is what you were trying to say?
どうやら無用な心配だったようだね。
You're a sharp one, my good man. Excellent.
これで心置きなく帝都に戻れるというものだ。
Now I can return to the capital with my mind at ease.
どうかお任せください。
Leave everything here to me, Your Highness.
私も今後の殿下のご活躍楽しみにさせていただきますぞ。
I will be looking forward to hearing what you achieve back in our homeland.
リベール恐るべしだね。
This truly is a country like no other.
まさか帝国貴族からあのような言葉が聞けるとは。
I never thought the day would come when I would hear things like that from a noble of the Empire.
ああ、もう少し顔面な御人と思ったのだがな。
Indeed, he's apparently somewhat less of an obstinate man than I thought he was.
確かにこの国の空気には人を変える力があるようだ。
Perhaps this nation's very air has the power to genuinely change people.
そういう君こそ柔らかい表情をすることが多くなったじゃないか。
It seems to have had an effect on you too.
少なからず影響を受けてしまったようだね。
I feel like I'm seeing a lot more smiles from you these days than I used to.
いささか不本意ではあるがな。
I'm loath to admit it, but that may well be true.
そういうお前の方はもう少しこの国の品位と節度を見習ってほしかったのだが。
I still find myself wishing that you would learn from Liberalian's dignity and sense of restraint, however.
まったく柔らかいところだけを際限なく伸ばしよって。
Two qualities you don't particularly possess in any measure. In fact, you have far too much of their opposites.
それが僕の唯一とも言える武器だからね。
You say that, but these qualities are the only weapon that I have.
あの鉄血宰相に少しでも対抗できるだけの。
I don't have much that will allow me to compete against the Chancellor. I need to use what little happens to be tucked in my corner as best I can.
段取りに変化は？
Have there been any changes to our plans?
今のところ全て順調だ。
None. We should be able to proceed as arranged.
最小閣下は3日前、東部諸州の視察旅行に出発した。
3 days ago, the Chancellor left the capital on a tour of eastern
それ
Arabonia.
と入れ違いに、お前は明日、アルセイユで帝都に帰還する。
Tomorrow you'll be returning there aboard the Arsail while he's still out in the east.
各方面への根回しも万全の状態だ。
All those who need to be made aware of our return have been given proper notice.
お前の帰国は間違いなく華々しいものになるだろう。
Your arrival in Arabonia will make a real impact, of that I am certain.
妨害要素は？
What potential obstructions to the plan are there at present?
情報局の4課が多少動きを見せているくらいだ。
Nothing major. There have been some movements in the intelligence division's 4th subdivision, but not much.
アルセイユが絡んでいる以上、慎重になっているのかもしれんが。
There's a chance that everyone is being cautious because the Arsail is involved.
それ以上に、宝刀王子の取るに足らないパフォーマンスごときと侮られている可能性が高いな。
But I put greater odds on the idea that everyone is just treating this as a pompous performance by you and not taking it
ま、
seriously.
実際そうだしね。
Well, they'd be right to. It is.
だがたとえ見せ物でも、ここから始めるしか道はない。
I have no choice but to start here, even if this means I have to use the barrel.
ならばせいぜい華々しく踊らせてもらうだけのことさ。
And if I'm going to put on a show, why not put on the finest one the skies have ever seen?
そうだな。
I suppose I can't argue that.
王子殿下、夜分遅くに失礼いたします。
I'm sorry to trouble you at this late hour, Your Highness.
帝都からの連絡が届いたのですが、いかがいたしましょうか。
A message has arrived for you from Heimdall. What would you have me do?
そうか。わかった。
Really?
入ってきたまえ。
Alright, come in.
失礼します。
Pardon me.
やあ、レクタ
Lecter! Well, if it isn't
ー。
Lecter.
今日は姿を見なかったからどうしたのかと思ったよ。
I was wondering where you'd been. I haven't seen you all day.
それが、朝からいろいろと連絡業務が続きまして、
I've been exceptionally busy with work since this morning, I'm
明
afraid.
日お立ちになってしまうのに、挨拶にも伺うことができずに、本当に申し訳ありませんでした。
I had hoped to be able to come and see you earlier since you'll be leaving tomorrow. I'm terribly sorry for not being able to.
気にすることはないさ。
Oh, never mind that.
しかしそうだな。なんだったらこのまま朝まで3人でしっぽりと。
If that work of yours is done now, we three could always enjoy some sensual quality time together for the remainder of the night.
それで書記官、帝都からは一体何と？
So was the message from the capital secretary.
王子殿下からのご形達、確かに承りましたとのことです。
They've acknowledged receipt of His Highness's message.
ただ、王都から帝都まで半日足らずで到着できるとは想定していなかったらしく。
However, they didn't anticipate that you may be able to arrive all the way from Grand Cell in less than half a
今
day.
慌てて明日の式典の準備をしているようですね。
As such, they're currently in a minor panic trying to ensure everything's ready for the ceremony tomorrow.
なるほど。さすがにアルセイユの速度は常識外か。
That doesn't come as a surprise. There's nothing like the Arsail when it comes to speed at home.
しくしく。
How cruel you both are for so deftly ignoring my proposal.
ま、それはともかく、なんとか舞台は整いそうだな。
Although it sounds as though the stage will be set in time.
せいぜい明日はみんなの度肝を抜くような衣装を用意するとしようか。
Now I need to decide on an outfit that will leave everyone's straws on the floor to sweeten my arrival.
白いふんどし一丁にギラギラ光るスパンコールのコートだけとか。
Perhaps a glistening coat and a white loincloth will do the trick.
それは確かにものすごいインパクトでしょうね。
That'd make a grand impact, all
自
right?
分も同行していたらぜひとも拝見したかったです。
I almost wish I could go along and see it myself.
書記官。
Please don't encourage him.
若いのになかなか見どころがあるじゃないか。
You show remarkable promise for someone so young.
どうだいレクター。君も一緒にアルセイユで帝都に帰るというのは。
What do you say to coming back on the Arsail with me? I'd welcome your company.
そろそろ王国での仕事も終わりなんだろ
Your work here in Libero is just about done as it is, isn't it?
アルセイユには心惹かれますが、次の仕事が控えておりまして。
Your offer is certainly tempting, but I'm afraid I have another job to take care of soon.
お気持ちだけ頂戴させていただきます。
The thought is appreciated, of course.
う。おや、それは残念だ。
Really? Well, that is a shame.
まあ次の仕事もせいぜい頑張ってくれたまえ。
Good luck with that next job of
ありが
yours.
とうございます。 それでは、私はこれで。
Thank you. Well, if you'll excuse me.
二等書記官レクター・アランドール。
So that is the second secretary, Lecter Arundel.
やはり最小の手のものか。
Is it safe to assume he's one of the chancellors?
十中八九間違いないだろうね。
Almost definitely, yes.
徒歩でハーケン門を通過し、この大使館に赴任したのは一月前。
He came through Hawken Gate on foot and took up his new position at the embassy a month ago.
ちょうど僕たちがアルセイユで浮遊都市に向かったのと同じタイミングだ。
And right around the same time, we headed to the Libra Arc aboard the Arseal at that.
それが偶然であるはずがない。
There's no way that could possibly be coincidence.
だろうな。
No, it
考
couldn't.
えられるとすれば、情報局の人間あたりか。
The most likely possibility seems to be that he's part of the intelligence division.
よかったのか？今まで放置しておいて。
Are you sure not doing anything regarding him all this time was a good idea?
そこはそれ。こちらも最小閣下の出方は知っておきたかったところだしね。
Oh, absolutely. We needed some way to find out what the Chancellor was up to after all.
いずれ彼からの報告を通じて何らかのリアクションがあるはずだ。
We'll probably get some kind of reaction from the Chancellor through his reports at some point.
東部諸州の視察が終わった後、多分2週間後といったところかな。
Probably in about 2 weeks when the Chancellor's tour is finished.
そこまで狙っていたか。
You'd planned that far ahead all along, had you?
わかった。ならば俺の方もそのつもりで備えるとしよう。
Well, in that case, I'll be sure that we're ready.
ああ、よろしく頼むよ。
I'll be counting on you, love.
ほ
なんだ？どうした？
Something the matter?
う。いや何？月が出ていただけさ。
Not really, it's just that the moon has come out.
それも見事な満月だ。
What a beautiful full moon it is.
リベールの月もこれで見納めか。
It's strange to think that this will be the last time we'll see the moon from here.
少々惜しい気もするな。
Truth be told, I'm going to miss it.
君にもようやくガッシュの何たるかが分かってきたようだね。
Well, well, it looks like putting a smile on your face a little more often isn't the only thing Libro's done for you. It's opened up your eyes to life's natural beauty as well.
まあせいぜい頑張ってまた見に来られるようにしよ
But in all seriousness, we'll just have to do all we can to be able to come back and see it again one
う。
day
お互い生きているうちにね。
while we're both still alive.
そうだな。
Indeed. The next morning, I was gonna say, oh wow, is that it? I thought it was gonna be done.
「女王陛下、王太女殿下、今まで本当にお世話になりました。
Your Majesty, Your Highness, I humbly thank you both for your generous hospitality during my stay in your fine kingdom.
その上、アルセイユでテートまで送ってほしいというずうずうしい願いを叶えていただけるとは。
You were even gracious enough to humor my brazen request of escorting me back to Heimdall aboard the Arseal.
このご恩、いつか必ずや何倍にもしてお返しいたします。
This debt I owe you will be repaid many times over in the future. Rest assured of that.
とんでもありません。
Oh, you needn't think of this as anything we went out of our way for.
殿下のような国賓をアルセイユでお送りするのは至極当然のことでありましょう。
Escorting an honored state guest back home is a matter, of
こ
course.
ちらこそ殿下にはいろいろとお世話になってしまいましたね。
Particularly a guest to whom we owe a great debt of gratitude.
また機会があったらぜひリベールにいらしてください。
If you ever have the opportunity, please do come back to Lee Barrel again in the future.
その頃にはエステルさんたちも戻ってきているでしょうし、
I imagine Estelle and Joshua will be back by then too.
みんなで盛大に歓迎させていただきますから。
So we'll all be able to give you a nice warm welcome.
楽しみにさせていただこ
I'm already excited for my next
う。
visit.
そういえばエステル君たちもそろそろリベールを立った頃かな。
Have they left the country yet, by the way?
いや、今頃ロレントで旅立ちの支度をしている頃でしょう。
They're busy getting ready to leave over in Roland at the moment, I believe.
自分もその時には休暇をいただいて二人を見送ろうかと思っています。
I'm planning to see them off when the time comes.
なるほど。
I see.
ハーメル跡は封鎖されているが、私の方で責任を持って入れるよう取り計らっておこ
Incidentally, while the ruins of Hamel are currently sealed off, I'll do what I can on my end to ensure they are allowed inside.
二人によろしく伝えてほしい。
Could I trouble you to pass that along to them?
承知しました。
Certainly.
王子殿下、感謝いたします。
Thank you very much, Your Highness.
何？あの二人にしてもらったことを考えれば、それくらい些細なことだよ。
I think nothing of it. It's the least I could do after all they've done for me.
カシウスさんにも本当に色々とお世話になった。
I owe you a great deal too, Cassius.
あなたの協力がなかったら、ああもうまく帝国軍の師団を足止めできなかっただろう。
If not for your assistance, stopping that armored division from crossing into Libero wouldn't have been as simple as it was.
それはこちらのセリフですよ。
I could say the same to you.
それに、もうお気づきかとは思いますが、あの展開も想定の範囲内でしょう。
Still, as I'm sure you're aware, that outcome would have been well within the realm of possibility for the Chancellor.
かの鉄血宰相殿にとっては。
I doubt he was even surprised by the incident. Really?
そうでしょうね。
Most likely not.
実際あの状況でリベールを制圧するメリットはエレボニアにはありませんでした。
Erebonia had nothing to gain from using that situation to occupy Libero.
それも効率が悪いとされる蒸気戦車などを開発してまで。
Certainly not to the extent that it would be worth going out of their way to develop inefficient steam tanks.
唯一あるとすれば
The only reason I can see for him doing what he did
動力停止現象中も帝国軍が行動できるということを諸外国に知らしめること。
was a show of power to surrounding nations, a statement that even without orbital power, Erebonia's army could still act.
おそらくそれが真の狙いのはず。
I indeed suspect that that was his true aim all along. Goodness.
その通り。よくお気づきに、動力停止現象というものは諸外国にとっては未知の現象です。
The orbital shutdown phenomenon was a complete unknown to the rest of the continent.
今後同じことが他の場所で起きるかもしれないし、二度と起きないかもしれない。
Perhaps it might never occur again, but there's always the chance it might, whether it's here or somewhere else entirely.
実際製造された蒸気戦車は少数だったそうです。
Here, the Empire only built a relatively small number of those tanks in all, too. Certainly not enough to launch a full-scale invasion.
ラインフォルト社の工房で通常の動力戦車の部品を流用して組み上げられたとか。
By the sounds of it, they were just put together in Reinford's factory using parts intended for standard orbital tanks.
つまりそのノウハウは現状では帝国にしか存在しない。
But as it stands, the know-how to put together tanks like that only exists in the Empire.
そしてこの不透明な状況で蒸気を使った効率の悪い兵器など導入できる余裕はどの国にもない。
And in these unpredictable times, no other nation has the time or resources to try and develop extremely inefficient steam-powered weaponry.
結果的に帝国軍の潜在的な G 抑止能力はさらに高まることになる。
In a sense, because of what just happened, the Imperial Army's effect as a deterrent is even greater than ever.
まさに戦争を外交の道具としてコントロールしているわけだね。
He's using war as a diplomatic tool, and very effectively at that.
そんな事情があったなんて。
None of this had even occurred to me.
やはり私はまだまだ至りませんね。
I have a long way to go before I'm fit to be ruler of this country.
この場合はかの宰相殿が尋常ではないと言うべきだろう。
Don't beat yourself up too much about it. He's no ordinary foe to even the most hardened veterans.
その発想はよし悪しは別にして時代の一歩も二歩も先を行っている。
The Chancellor always seems to be thinking several steps ahead of the rest of the world. It's impressive, no matter what we may think of his actual ideas.
そんな厄介な相手に挑戦状を叩きつけてしまうとは我ながら無謀もいいところさ。
I'm quite the reckless fool to be trying to challenge him, if I do say so myself.
殿下。
Don't be silly, Your Highness.
まったく何を一言のように。
How can you say that with a smile on your face is utterly beyond me?
今はご自分の足場を固めることに専念すべきでしょう。
You should focus on building yourself a strong foothold to begin with.
ですがどうかお気をつけて。
I do hope you'll be careful.
ご自分の立ち位置だけは決して見失われないでください。
No matter what may occur, be sure not to lose sight of exactly where you stand.
わかりました。
Of course, Your Majesty.
これで無様を晒すことになればわざわざアルセイユで 帝都まで送っていただく甲斐がないというもの。
If I were to go and bring shame upon myself now, I'd be wasting all the effort involved in escorting me back home.
今のお言葉、肝に銘じておきます。
I'll be sure to take what you have said to heart.
失礼します。
Excuse me, Your Majesty.
ヒルダさん、
Hilda?
助官長、
Whatever
い
is
か
the
がしまし
matter.
た？あなたがそのように取り乱すのは珍しいですね。
It's not often I see you so flustered.
失礼しました。今しがた、グランセル城に突然のご来客がございまして。
My apologies, Your Majesty. It's just that a guest for you arrived all of a sudden at the castle.
それがあまりに異例だったので、お話中失礼かとは思ったのですが、陛下たちのお耳に入れようかと。
Ordinarily, I would not have rushed in while you were meeting with others, but the visitor is so irregular that I thought you should know at once.
異例の来客。
Irregular? How so?
そろそろ私はおいとました方が良さそうだ。
It sounds like it's about time I take my leave then.
いえ、それが、
Actually,
その方は陛下だけでなく、王子殿下にもご挨拶したいとおっしゃっておりまして。
the visitor said he would like to greet you as well, and not just Her Majesty. Is it this Chancellor guy they've been talking about?
何？
What?
ヒルダ夫人、その客人の名前は？
Hilda? Just who is this visitor?
はい。
Well,
エレボニア帝国宰相、ギリアス・オズボーンと名乗っていらっしゃいます。
he introduced himself as Chancellor Gileath Osborne of the Erebonian Empire. Oh, and there's Lecter.
お初にお目にかかります。
It's an honor to be granted a personal audience.
エレボニア帝国政府代表、ギリアス・オズボーンと申します。
I am Gileath Osborne, representative of the Imperial Government.
このような形での突然の訪問、どうかお許しいただきたい。
My apologies for the abrupt intrusion.
あなたが。
So you are Chancellor Osborne.
そして我が親愛なるオリバルト王子殿下、
And it's a pleasure to see you again as well, Your Highness.
ご無沙汰しておりました。1年ぶりぐらいでありましょうか。
It's been a year since we last met, has it not? I hope these passing months have seen you well.
ああ、そんなところかな。
Yes, a year sounds about right.
しかし最初、どうも話が見えないんだが。
Still, while I hope you'll forgive me for asking,
なぜ一国の宰相たるあなたが何の前触れもなくこちらに？
just what did prompt someone of your stature to appear at the castle without warning?
しかるべき経緯を聞かせていただきたいものだな。
I'd very much like to hear your side of the story.
これは失礼。
My apologies, Your Highness.
実は先日より東部諸州の視察に出向いていたのですが、予想以上に順調にことが進みまして。
You see, these past few days, I've been touring Eastern Erebonia on routine inspections.
いささか余裕ができたので、こちらに参上した次第なのです。
It's been going very smoothly, more so than I had initially anticipated. I had enough free time in my schedule to pay a cordial visit.
それは。
Oh my, is that so?
本来ならば殿下のように、まさに異変の最中にでも駆けつけたかったところなのですが。
Naturally, I would have preferred to come here while the crisis was still unfolding like you yourself did, Your Highness.
あいにく南部の混乱もひどく、その対応に追われておりまして。
Unfortunately, the confusion in southern Erebonia was simply too pressing a matter, and I had no choice but to deal with that first.
ようやく時間が取れたので、思い余って参上させていただきまし
This
た。
was the first chance that presented itself to come here and meet directly with Her Majesty, so I acted with the utmost expediency.
前触れなき無礼をお許しあれ。
I hope you'll forgive my lack of proper decorum in failing to give advance notice of my arrival.
なるほど。
That does
そうい
make
う事
sense
情
at
な
least.
らぜひもない。私のことは気にせずご挨拶申し上げるといいだろ
Regardless, please don't concern yourself with me. No doubt you wish to offer your greetings to Her Majesty.
ありがとうございます。それでは。
My thanks, Your Highness.
改めまして、
Well then,
アリシア女王陛下、並びにクローディア王太女殿下におかれましては、
Allow
ご機
me
嫌
to extend my
麗
most
しゅう。
heartfelt greetings to both of you, Queen Alicia, and Princess Claudia. Oh, this is how they met 2 years later, because yeah, Lecter.
この度の異変、帰国にとっては大変な試練であったことでしょう。
It's abundantly clear that the crisis that unfolded here has been quite the ordeal for you, for yourselves, and for your nation's people.
心からのお悔やみと異変が無事収束したことのお祝いをここに述べさせていただきます。
You have my deepest sympathies for the hardships you have endured, as well as my commendation for bringing the situation under control.
丁寧なご挨拶、痛み入ります。
I thank you for your kind words, Your Excellency.
こちらこそ異変が帰国の南部にまで影響を及ぼしたこと、かねてより遺憾に思っておりました。
If anything, we should be apologizing to you for the fact that the southern side of your nation was caught up in what should have been our problem.
なのにわざわざ最小閣下にご足労をおかけしてしまうとは。
We should be the ones going to you rather than having you trouble yourself to come all the way to Libero.
どうか心よりの感謝とお詫びをお受け取りください。
I beg you to accept our apologies together with my deepest thanks for coming here today.
なんの聞けば異変の陰には得体の知れん組織がうごめいていたとか。
I would never ask for apologies. I've heard what happened was the work of a shadowy organization stirring up trouble within your borders.
そうとも知らず、ただ帰国の力になりたい一心で軍を動かしたのはあまりに愚かで軽率でありました。
While I meant well by sending a military force to aid you, I wouldn't have done something so careless had I known the truth of the matter.
さすがに皇帝陛下からもお叱りの言葉を受けたくらいです。
My actions were rash, foolish even, and I was rightfully reprimanded by His Imperial Majesty for them.
まあ
Oh my.
ですが我が失態もオリバルト殿下の計らいでなんとか繕われたとのこと。
Fortunately, His Highness the Prince was able to act with all due haste to put right my misstep before even greater harm was done.
殿下におかれましては心よりの感謝を申し上げます。
I owe you a great debt of gratitude for that, Your Highness.
それと異変収束の見届け役、誠にお疲れ様でありました。
And congratulations besides for your part in bringing an end to the crisis.
何、大したことはやっていないさ。
Oh, I did nothing out of the ordinary.
それに陛下や殿下、そしてこちらのカシウス准将にもいろいろと助けていただいたからね。
I had a lot of help from Her Majesty, Her Highness, and Brigadier General Bright here too.
ほう。
Bright, you say?
お初にお目にかかる。
It's a pleasure to meet you, Your
リ
Excellency.
ベール王国軍准将カシウス・ブライトと申します。
I am Cassius Bright, a Brigadier General in the Liberian Royal Army.
貴公の功名は我が帝国にも響き渡っている。
The pleasure is all mine, I assure you.
こうしてお目にかかれて光栄だ。
Your name is rather well known even in the Empire.
こちらこそ名高きオズボーン閣下にお目にかかれて光栄に存じます。
As much as yours is known here in Libero, I would imagine, it's an honor to be able to speak with you in person.
しかしよもやこれほどまでに大胆な行動力がおありだとは。
It's certainly a surprise to be able to, though. Coming here on a whim can't have been easy for a man as busy as yourself.
どうやら閣下への評価を改める必要がありそうですな。
It sounds as though I may have underestimated just how capable you truly are.
何、こちらも異変に際しての王国軍の対応には驚嘆させられた。
Not at all. I was greatly impressed to see the Royal Army's effectiveness in dealing with the tumult here.
いかなる事態にも対応しうる銃にして豪を体現した組織運用。
Your forces have proven, your forces have proven powerful, yet flexible, capable of dealing with emergencies ably and decisively.
図体ばかり大きい我が軍には望むべくもない理想の形と言えよ。
I might go so far as to say it embodies an ideal that the Imperial Army, with its swollen ranks, could never hope to realize.
はは、ご謙遜を。
You flatter us, Your Excellency.
かの名高き帝国軍情報局は閣下自らの肝入りであるとか。
For your part, I hear you were responsible for the establishment of the Imperial Army's famed intelligence division.
その方面での立て直しが急務な我が軍にとっては羨ましい限りです。
Our army is in desperate need of a new one of its own, so I find myself quite envious.
お互いないものねだりというわけか。
It almost sounds as though the two of us want what what the other has.
いやはやそのようですな。
So it does.
ところで最初、この後どうするつもりかな？
May I ask curiosity, what will you be doing now?
あいにく私は今日をもってリベールをいとまするつもりなのだが。
For my part, I'm intended to leave Liberal today, so I'm afraid I won't be around much longer.
ええ、存じ上げております。
Yes, so I've been told.
何でも名高きアルセイユにて帝都に凱旋なさるのだとか。
I believe you're intending to make your grand arrival in Heimdall aboard the famous Arceel.
さすがに耳が早い。
I'm impressed you're already aware.
私もご一緒させていただければとお願いしたいところなのですが。
I almost wish I could return to Erebony on board it alongside you.
あいにくこの後他の予定が入っておりましてね。
But alas, I'm afraid I have other business demanding my attention after I'm finished here.
殿下とは別に私も午後にはリベールを立たなくてはなりません。
I'll be leaving Libero separately this afternoon.
まあ、今宵の晩餐にはぜひとも招待させていただくつもりだったのですが。
That is a shame. I would very much have liked to invite you to this evening's banquet.
どうかお気遣いなく。
Please, you need not go to such troubles on my account.
ぶしつけなる来訪者には過ぎた今日というものでしょう。
I feel as though I've put you out enough showing up unannounced as I did, to say nothing of dining with such esteemed company.
ですが、船が来るまでいささか時間がある様子。
Still, I do have some time before the airship I'll be leaving on is due to
よろ
depart.
しかったら殿下、しばしお時間をいただけませんか。
That being the case, might I ask for a little of your time, Your Highness?
個人的にいろいろとお話ししたいことがありますゆえ。
I have a few things I'd like to discuss with you personally.
そうだな。
Very well.
私もあなたと個人的に話がしたいと思っていたところでね。
I have some matters I would actually like to discuss personally with you as well.
それは偶然ですな。
What a fortuitous coincidence.
よろしければ部屋を用意させましょう。
Allow me to have a room arranged for the two of you to have your discussion then.
助官長、よろしくお願いします。
Hilda, if you would.
かしこまりました。
Certainly, Your Majesty. Ah.
さすが女王陛下ご自身が紅茶がお好きなだけはありますな。
It's obvious that Her Majesty is quite the tea fancier, if this blend is anything to go by.
香り、温度、味わい、どれをとっても申し分ない。
The fragrance, the temperature, the taste, I'd be hard pressed to find fault with any of it.
私はコーヒー糖ですが、これなら毎日飲みたいくらいです。
I've always been more of a coffee man myself, but I have no doubt that I'd be content with a cup of this at my desk each morning.
その意見には同意するが、そろそろ本題に入っていただこうか。
As much as I agree with you, I don't believe we're here to talk about beverages.
話というのは一体何かな？
Shall we get right to the point? What did you want to discuss with me?
どうやらリベールでの滞在は殿下にとってこの上なく有意義なものだったようですな。
I see your sojourn in Libero has proven most fruitful.
何？
Pardon?
以前お会いした時も大層柔軟で聡明な方だという印象を受けたものですが、
When we last spoke, you struck me as a bright, flexible young man.
今の殿下はそれに加えて真の強さも兼ね備えておいでだ。
And now you still, and no doubt you still are, but now I see in you a resilient inner strength, girding those aspects. Oh goodness, I need a drink or something.
さぞ陛下もお喜びになるでしょ
I'm sure His Majesty would be most delighted with your personal development.
そういうあなたこそ相変わらずの強胆ぶりだね。
Meanwhile, I see you're the same fearless man I've always known you to be.
いや、以前会った時よりもさらに圧倒的なオーラを感じるよ。
More so even, that crushing aura about you seems to have only grown with time.
さしずめ、平凡した領土の広さだけの怨念をまとっているといったところかな。
It's as if you feed on the resentment of those who live in the territories you annex.
これは手厳しい。
Such harsh words, Your Highness.
ですが、できれば平凡ではなく、併合とおっしゃってほしいところですな。
Personally, I prefer the term political unification annex. I'm sorry. Personally, I prefer the term political unification. Annex can carry such negative connotations, you know?
かの百日戦役以来、帝国軍が侵略行為に及んだことは、ただの一度たりともないのですから。
Since the end of the 100 Days War, our army hasn't committed a single act of aggression. All our unifications have been entirely peaceful.
確かにその通りだ。
Oh, you're quite right about
あ
that.
くまで名目上はね。
On the surface.
おう、
Oh?
併合された小国や自治州はどこもいくつかの問題を抱えていた。
It's amazing how similar the annexation process is every single time it happens.
そしてその問題が深刻化し、両兵団などが入り込んできたところで極度に治安が悪化。
It starts with a small nation or independent state with an array of problems beyond repair.
困窮した現地政府の要請を受けて帝国軍が介入し、そのままうやむやの流れで併合が決定される。
Those problems start to worsen, after which Jaegers and other dangerous elements enter, plunging public order to an all-time low.
そのプロセスは全て共通している。
Desperate for a solution, the local government requests the help of the Imperial Army. Before they know it, they're part of the Empire.
確かにそのような共通性があるのは確かですな。
Well, it's not as though I can deny what you're saying. Each instance does share certain commonalities.
ですがそれも激動の時代が生み出した必然でありましょう。
Still, is to be expected, an inevitable consequence of the age of unchecked growth and progress in which we live.
帝国軍はあくまで帝国のため、周辺地域の安定を実現するべく、しかるべき対応をしてるだけですよ。
The Imperial Army is simply acting in the Empire's best interest, helping to stabilize our neighbors for the good of the
それ
Empire.
は非常に結構なことだ。
And it's understandable that they would.
だが、それにしては情報局の人間が周辺地域に赴きすぎているのは気になるな。
I do find myself rather curious why Intelligence Division members are going to such nations with such peculiar frequency.
しかも抱えていた問題が深刻化するよりも以前からだ。
Well before the problems I described worsen, no less.
そのような情報をどの筋から入手されたのかはあえて問いますまい。
I won't press as to where you came by such information, as curious as I am.
すべては危機管理の思想によるもの。
But I will say this, at its most basic level, these actions are about risk
だ
management.
からこそ我が軍はこれまでいくつもの有事を収めることができたのです。
It's because we've been acting to minimize such risk beforehand that the army has been able to successfully quell each problem in turn.
周辺地域の遠さとテロという危険と引き換えにね。
With the small price of earning the disdain of the people in those nations and an increased risk of terrorism in exchange.
正直あなたがこうして単身リベールを訪れたというのがいささか信じられない気分さ。
To tell you the truth, I'm rather astounded that you had the courage to come here to Libero all on your own to begin with.
今のエレボニアにおいておそらく一番テロの対象として狙われている人間だろうからね。
After all, you've earned yourself the biggest target for terrorists in all of Erebonia.
恐れ入ります。
Your concern is touching, Your Highness.
ですが、どうかご心配なく。
I would ask that you not trouble yourself with my safety.
優秀なスタッフのおかげでテロへの対策は万全でしてね。
I employ some very skilled subordinates tasked primarily with eliminating the risk of terrorist attacks against me.
優秀なスタッフ。
Really now?
例えばレクター君か？
That Lecter is one of those, I assume?
変わり者ではありますが、なかなか使える男でして。
A rather peculiar fellow, isn't he? But a very useful one all the same.
今回のスケジュール調整からテロ対策まで段取ってくれました。
working out the scheduling for this trip and taking all the necessary precautions to ward off terrorist threats were both his doing.
おかげでこの後安心してクロスベルに向かうことができます。
And thanks to his commendable efforts, I can depart for Crossbell free from worries as soon as I finish my business here. Crossbell?
クロスベルの政府代表と極秘の会談を行う予定でしてね。
Are you surprised? I'll be participating in a top secret discussion with the representative of the Crossbell government.
最近共和国の資本が流れ込んで対抗勢力に押され気味なのだとか。
Recently, a large amount of funding has been flowing into the country through Republican channels, putting our allies on the defensive.
一度行ってみたい場所でしたので、これを機会に訪れてみようかと。
I'd always meant to visit at some point, and this seemed the perfect opportunity.
バカな!
Are you out of your mind?
今のクロスベルは各国の勢力が入り乱れた状況だ。
Crossbell is full of enemies and different factions at each other's throats.
干渉地帯であるのをいいことに、テロ組織や犯罪組織などの温床になっているとも聞く。
I hear it's now even a hotbed for terrorists and criminal organizations because of its position as a buffer state.
そんな場所に非公式とはいえ、帝国宰相が乗り込むだと?
Does that really sound like a place the Erebonian Chancellor should be going even on an unofficial visit? On an unofficial visit.
それを言うなら殿下、あなたとて同じことでしょう。
I'm surprised to hear you advocating caution in the face of potential danger, Your Highness.
かの浮遊都市に乗り込み、視察という大任を果たされて地上に戻られた。
After all, it was you who flew onto an ancient city at great risk to your own safety and returned unharmed after surveying it.
それと比べれば、たかがクロスベル訪問ごとき、子供の使いと同じこと。
Compared to such rousing risk-taking, my visit to Crossbow will be child's play.
今本国で殿下はちょっとした英雄扱いですよ。
As I'm sure you're aware, you're regarded as something of a hero back in Erebonia now.
その殿下が白き翼と名高いアルセイユで帝都に凱旋する。
Ah, to see a hero make a grand return befitting his newly minted legend and aboard the famous Arceel no less.
インペリアルクロニクルをはじめとする各方面への連絡も抜かりはない。
Naturally, our hero has taken the time to ensure that every well-known newspaper and magazine are aware of his homecoming too.
まさに殿下が見込まれた通り、華々しいご帰還となるでしょうな。
Oh, I have no doubts that your triumphant arrival will be every bit as glorious as played out in your imaginings, Your Highness.
どうかこの機会を最大限に生かして、ご自分の足場を固めるがよろしい。
Do be sure to capitalize on this chance as best you can to build yourself a firm foothold.
殿下、私はあなたに大いに期待しているのですよ。
I expect great things from you, after all. So you already knew about his plans. Got him. Sieg.
よ、久しぶり。
Hey, hey, buddy.
変わってないね、
You
お前。
You haven't changed a bit, huh?
なるほど。いろいろとあったみたいだな。
Really? Sounds like a ton's happened, huh?
ま、主人ともども元気そうで何よりだぜ。
It was nice to see you and your master are doing all right.
先輩
Lecter?
これはクローディア殿下。ご機嫌麗しゅう。
Well, well, good day to you, Your Highness.
勝手かとは思ったのですが、見学させていただいておりました。
I pray I'm not causing any trouble by taking a tour of the castle like this.
いや、それにしても本当に素晴らしい眺めですね。
The view from this terrace certainly is beautiful, isn't it?
先輩どういうことなんですか？
What happened to you, Lecter?
どうして先輩がオズボーン宰相の下でこんなことをしているのですか？
How did you end up working for Chancellor Osborne?
はて、何のことやら自分にはさっぱり。
I'm sorry, I haven't the faintest idea what you mean.
どなたかと勘違いされていらっしゃるのでは？
Are you for chance mistaking me for someone else?
レクター・アランドール。
Your name is Lecter
2
Arundel.
年前までジェニス王立学園に在籍していた前生徒会長。
You were the student council president at Genus Royal Academy, which you attended before leaving suddenly 2 years ago.
先輩、あなたのことですよね。
So no, I am not mistaking you for someone else.
いえ、実は私の名前はレク・ターランドールと申しまして。
Ah, but that's where you're wrong, because my name is actually Lek Tarandel.
ですから、多分それは別人でしょう。
I can see how our names could become mixed up. However, they are scarily
どう
close.
か私のことはレクとでもターランドールとでもお呼びください。
Lek Tarandel. Still, now you know. Please, just call me Lek.
ふざけないでください、先輩。
Don't try and joke around with me, Lecter.
あんな風に突然退学届を出して何も言わずにいなくなるなんて。
Do you have any idea how worried all of us were when you just disappeared without a word?
レオ先輩やルーシー先輩、それにジルやハンス君たちがどれだけ心配したと思っているんです。
You submitted your notice to leave the academy and then were never seen again.
あの冷静なレオ先輩が怒鳴り声を上げていました。
Even the otherwise calm Leo let out a cry of anger when he found out. And all Lucy could do was give a sad
ルー
smile
シ
to
ー
say,
先輩はレクターらしいって苦笑しながらも泣きそうな顔で、
and all Lucy could do was give a sad smile and say, this is just like him the whole time with tears in her eyes.
ジルやハンス君、それにもちろん私だって。
Jill and Hans were heartbroken and so was
な
I.
のに
Yet after all
こ
that,
の城に私がいると知って姿を現しておきながらなぜごまかそうとするんですか。
after all this time, you finally show yourself knowing full well that I'm here, and this is how you act by pretending you're someone else?
レクター先輩、
悪い悪い、そう怖い顔するなって。
Sorry, no need for the scary glare.
しかしお前さん、相変わらず頭が固いね。
You're still taking things way too seriously.
大退場になってもクソ真面目なところは全然変わってないみたいだな。
Looks like it'll take more than stepping up as crown princess to change that part of you. Oh,
でもまあ安心したぜ。
but you know, seeing you makes me feel kinda relieved.
お前のことだから大退場なんかになったりしたら身動き取れなくなるかと思ったが。
Always figured if someone like you became crown princess, you'd have virtually no freedom to do anything other than work.
噂で聞いた限りじゃなんとかやってるみたいじゃないの。
But from all that's reached my ears, it sounds like you're actually doing alright for yourself.
俺が学園を辞めてからいい出会いがあったみたいだな。
Hey, you've made some great new friends after I left the academy, didn't you? Nice.
先輩、はい、おかげさまで。
I sure did.
でも私が変われたとしたらその最初のきっかけをくれたのはレクター先輩、あなたです。
Nonetheless, it's thanks to take you. Bleh. English is hard today, guys. Nonetheless, it's thanks to you that I was able to change it all. You were the one who gave me the first push in the right direction.
あんな風に突然いなくなるから満足にお礼も言えませんでしたけど、
I never got the chance to thank you properly after you left.
私はずっと先輩に感謝していました。
But all this time, I've always been grateful to you.
ほう、そりゃ光栄だ。
Well, consider me honored.
俺にキスでもしてくれるか？
Do I get a kiss in return?
しません。
You do not.
尊敬はしてますけど恋愛感情はありませんので。
I may feel respect towards you, but nothing romantic.
そりゃ残念。
Aw, that's a bummer.
後輩がこんな綺麗になって少しドキドキしてたんだが。
There was me, all taken in by how pretty you'd become, wondering if this could be the start of something downright magical.
どうやら俺の一人相撲だったみたいだな。
And what happens instead? My dreams of romance and sweet smooches are crushed to nothing before they can even begin.
また心にもないことを。
I know you don't mean a word of that, you know.
先輩の方こそ信じられないくらいきちんとした格好をなさっていますね。
You're looking very sharp yourself, though. It's surprising to see.
いつもヨレヨレの制服をだらしなく着ていた先輩が。
Every time I've seen you before today, it was in that heavenly frayed uniform, one of the most sloppy way imaginable.
バカ者。あれはファッションだ。
I think you'll find I was merely making a fashion statement.
あの適度にルーズでファジーな着こなしは厳密な計算による演出でだな。
That wasn't laziness or slobbishness. Every part of it was carefully calculated and considered to have maximum effect.
今となってはその言葉も真実に思えます。
Scary thing is, I actually believe you.
学園生活を思うがまま謳歌し、あちこち楽しくかき回しながらも、先輩は賢者のように理知的でした。
You always seemed as if you cared for nothing but having fun and causing trouble, yet when it came down to it, you were wise beyond your years.
その理由の一端が今日ようやく垣間見えた気がします。
And I finally seen part of the reason behind that today.
改めてお聞きしますが、
I'll ask you again, Lecter.
先輩、どうしてオズボーン最小のもとへ？
How did you end up working for Chancellor Osborne like this?
学園を退学してから一体何があったのですか？
Just what happened to you between you submitting your notice to leave the academy and now. Are you not gonna tell
期
us?
待しているか。
Do you now?
それは全く予想外の言葉だな。
I have to admit, I never imagined that would be the case.
私はてっきりあなたがわざわざ釘を刺しに来たと思ったのだ
On the
が、
contrary, I was expecting you to tell me to back off.
まさかどうしてそのようなことを。
Oh, ideas forbid. What reason would I have to suggest such a thing?
私と殿下はそもそも同じ立場にあるというのに。
After all, at the end of the day, our positions are functionally the same.
何？
I'm not sure I understand.
殿下、あなたはエレボニアという古い帝国を憎んでいるはずだ。
Do you not think so? Personally, I find it difficult to believe that you would not harbor some hatred toward Erebonia as it is today. Sorry, I just got a very funny text.
あまたの貴族によって支配され、具にもつかない飲酒としがらみにがんじがらめになった古い体制を。
A grand empire clinging to the glories of a bygone era, ruled by the nobility and shackled by meaningless convention.
そうではありませんか。
Am I wrong?
鉄血宰相などと大行に呼ばれているようですが。
People call me the Blood and Iron Chancellor, as though I hold the whole of Erebonia in the palm of my hand.
帝国における私の立場はまだまだ決定的ではありません。
But in reality, my position is far more tenuous.
帝都での支持者は多いとはいえ、未だ諸侯の影響が強い地方での支持までは集めきれていない。
I have supporters and allies in the capital, certainly, but outside its walls, the nobility holds far more sway than any of them.
帝国軍への影響力は認めますが、それでも7割程度。
And while it is true I hold a great amount of power in the form of the Imperial Army, even then, I only truly command around 70% of it.
残りは諸侯の支配下にあり、それに彼らの施設軍が加わったら、立場は完全に逆転するでしょう。
The remainder is loyal to the nobility, who also maintain their own private armies. With those factored in, my advantage shrinks substantially.
私も未だ帝国における主導権をめぐって戦いの最中にあるのですよ。
So you see, I'm still very much in the midst of a battle to truly exert control.
だからこそ鉄道網を全土に敷き、帝国全土に風穴を開け、
Which is why you're building railways all over the country to expand your area of influence.
領土を拡張することで新たなる発言権を得るか。
And you've been annexing new territory to that same end.
やはりあなたは私の一番の理解者のようだ。
As I've long thought, you clearly understand me better than anyone else.
改めて私に協力なさい、殿下。
That is why I'll say this once again. Work with me, Your Highness.
あなたが協力してくれれば私の改革も勢いづくでしょう。
With your support, our nation will be able to bring about real reform faster than ever.
腐敗した貴族勢力も互いに結託する暇もないまま崩壊へと導かれる。
A noble faction bloated with the centuries of decadence can be stopped before they even have the chance to unify against us.
それはあなたが最も望んでいることのはずだ。
Surely that's what you desire more than anything.
最初、一つだけ聞かせてもらおう。
Let me just ask a simple question, Chancellor.
結社とはどのような関係だ？
What connection do you have with Ouroboros?
何をおっしゃっているのかいささか分かりかねますが。
I'm afraid I'm not quite sure what you're asking.
ただ改革のためならば利用できる要素は全て利用する。
I will say this, however. I'm a firm believer in using every resource at my disposal in the name of achieving reform.
それが私の政治理念ですよ。
That's the way I believe in handling politics.
なるほど。確かに我々は気が合いそうだ。
I see. Well, it certainly does seem as though we would see eye to eye in many
し
ways.
かしだからこそその申し出は断らせてもらおう。
And that's all the more reason why I am afraid I must refuse your offer.
ほう。
Is that so?
確かに私は腐敗した貴族勢力はあまり好きにはなれない。
Yes, I find it difficult to like the rotten noble faction that exists in the Empire.
いや、あなたの言う通り憎んでいると言ってもいいだろ
Or perhaps you're right that hate is the more appropriate word.
う。だがそれ以上にあなたのやり方が怖いのだよ。
My feelings of fear towards your methods are far greater than my feelings of hatred towards the nobles.
あなたのやり方はおそらくある種の幻想を作り上げることで国家全体を熱狂に巻き込むことだ。
What you seem to be doing is trying to compel Erebonians with a delusive utopia to whip them into an enthusiastic frenzy.
その熱狂の中において確かに旧勢力は打倒されるだろ
No doubt by successfully convincing the people, the old guard will fall into the metaphorical firestorm
う。
created.
だが一度回り始めた歯車がもはや止まることはありえない。
And yet by then, the gears will have already begun turning. There will be no satisfying aroused populace with a thirst for revolution.
全てを巻き込みながら際限なく成長を続けていくだろ
The storm will just keep growing larger and more ravenous, engulfing anything and everything in its
う。
wake.
最初あなたはそれが分かっているのか。
You know this, don't you, Chancellor?
もちろんですとも。
But of course.
まさにそれこそが私の改革の第一段階なのですから。
After all, that's what I intend to happen. It's the first stage of my reforms.
その先は殿下。あなたが私に協力する気になったらお教えするといたしましょう。
I'd be more than happy to share further details with you if you were to decide to work with me, Your Highness.
まずは納得のゆくまでご自分の足場を固めるがよろしい。
In the meantime, I wish you well in strengthening your foothold back in the
も
Empire.
っともそのためにはあなたが嫌っている貴族勢力すらも手なずける必要があるでしょう、ね。
Of course, if that's your intention, you'll find it a necessity to work with those nobles you so despise.
何もかもお見通しということか。
You truly do see through everything, don't you?
正午の鐘。そろそろ船が到着しますか。
Well, that sounds like the noon bell. The airship should be arriving shortly.
それでは殿下。私めはこれで失礼いたします。
Which means it's time for me to take my leave, I'm afraid.
2週間後。またテートでお会いしましょう。
I look forward to seeing you again in the capital in 2 weeks' time.
話は終わったようだな。
I take it the discussion is over then.
どうした？随分と疲れた顔をして。
What's wrong? You look awfully tired.
いや何
Oh, nothing.
改めて自分が喧嘩を売った相手の怪物ぶりを思い知らされただけさ
I'm。just feeling awed anew at what a monster I decided to pick a fight with.
おっと、そろそろ船が来る頃合いか。
Oopsie, I think it's probably about time for the airship to arrive.
そんじゃ、俺はこれで失礼させてもらうぜ。
I'm gonna have to stop you there and get going. What?
じゃあな、ジーク。
Easy.
今度は帝国産のサラミでもお土産に持ってきてやるよ。
Next time I see you, I'll bring you some Erebonian salami as a souvenir, okay?
待ってくださ
Wait,
い。また何も明かさずにいなくなってしまうんですか？
are you planning to just disappear without telling me anything the second time?
そうだ、クローゼ。
Oh, got an important question for you.
お前ひょっとして好きな男ができたんじゃないか？
Did you fall in love with someone while I was away?
あった、図星だったか。
Hit the nail on the head, huh?
いや、いいね、初恋っていうのは。
Oh, that's so cute. First love, right?
胸キュンドキドキ、甘酸っぱいって感じだろ？
How's the feel? Heart all aflutter 1 minute, end of the world the next?
もうふざけないでください。
Don't you dare start teasing me.
ええ、好きな男の子ができました。
But you're right, though. I did.
この前ちょうどこの場所で振られてしまいましたけど。
You rejected me in this very spot not that long ago.
ってマジかよ。
Wait, you're joking, right?
さすがにそんな偶然は俺も予想してなかったぜ。
There's a coincidence I didn't see that coming.
怪しいですね。
I'm not so sure about that.
先輩は本当に何でもお見通しなんですから。
It feels like you know everything sometimes.
ま、この俺様も万能じゃないってことさ。
I'm not some kind of all-knowing, all-seeing divinity.
だからこそ世の中は面白い。
That's what makes the world so interesting to me.
よかったな、クローゼ。
I'm happy for you, Chloe.
恋の痛みを知ってこそ女は一人前ってもんだ。
Knowing the pain of lost love is what makes a girl blossom, in my humble opinion.
また一歩なりたい自分に近づけたんじゃないのか。
Do you feel like the whole experience lets you get a step closer to the person you want to be?
先輩。
Oh, well.
先輩の方はどうですか？
What about you?
なりたい自分に近づこうとしていますか？
Do you feel you're getting closer to becoming the person you want to be?
あの宰相殿のもとにいることで。
By being at the Chancellor's side?
別に俺はなりたい自分なんてないからな。
Kinda hard to do that when I don't have a person I want to be to begin with.
ただ面白そうって理由だけであのおっさんについてるだけさ。
I'm just sticking with him because it feels like it'll be fun. That's all.
王立学園に入る前からな。
I've been doing it since before I joined the academy. In fact, you have?
王子も結構やるけど、あの化け物みたいな親父にはまだまだ及ばないね。
That prince is proving surprisingly capable, but he still isn't a match for the Chancellor.
まあせいぜい気をつけるように言っときな。
Tell him to watch his back,
踊り
alright?
疲れたところを怪物に飲み込まれないようにってな。
That he doesn't get swallowed up by that monster after he gets tired of dancing.
レクター先輩。
Goodbye, Lecter. Lecter is a most curious individual. And that still isn't the end of this part. Huh. Oh, goodness.
皆様、お待たせしました。
Thank you all for waiting.
レミフェリア公国方面、国際定期船、カラブリア号、出港準備が整いました。
The Calabiria International Airliner bound for the Principality of Rimaferia will be departing momentarily.
どうか足元にお気をつけてお乗りください。
Please mind your footing when boarding. Now there are crossbell games since he mentioned his way on the crossbell. I imagine these are all like it's really cool that these games are all relevant in some way and these stories are all connecting.
ギリアス・オズボーン殿ですか。
So that was the Blood and Iron Chancellor.
専用艇くらい持ってるでしょうに。わざわざ民間の船を使うなんて。
I can't believe he actually went out of his way to use a civilian airship when he probably has a private one of his own.
噂には聞いてたけど、相当とんでもない相手みたいね。
I'd heard rumors about how out of the ordinary he is, but he lives up to all of them.
なかなかスリルがある相手だよ。
He keeps me on my toes, to put it playfully enough.
それよりもシェラ君、わざわざ見送りすまなかったね。
And besides, thanks for coming all this way to see me off, Shara.
ちょうど仕事でオートに用事があったついでよ。
I was lucky I just happened to have business here at the right time.
その様子じゃ当分会えなくなりそうな雰囲気だしね。
Feels like this is going to be the last chance we get to see one another for a while, after all.
僕の夢はあくまでシェラ君みたいな美女と一緒に気ままな日々を送ることなんだがね。
Rather unfortunate as my dream is, and always was, to live away my days in the lap of luxury surrounded by women as beautiful as you.
はいはい。ま、早くそんな身分になれるよ。せいぜい頑張りなさい
Good
な。
luck with that.
そういえば、あの最初のそばにいた若いのは何者なの？
Changing the subject though, who was the young man at the Chancellor's side?
妙に隙のない足運びだったけど。
He didn't strike me as your ordinary guy.
ほう、わかるかシェラザード。
Oh, you could tell?
それはもう。
But of course,
ここしばらく格上の相手ばかりとやり合っていましたから。
I'd say I'm used to running into people who are out of the ordinary at this point. We've sure fought enough of them.
レクター・アランドール、帝国政府から出向していた書記官さ。
His name's Lecter Arundel. He is a secretary who was sent here by the imperial
どうや
government.
ら今回の最小の訪問は全て彼が段取りを行ったようだね。
Apparently, he was the one who planned out all the details of the chancellor's visit to
何
Libro.
者かは知らないが、相当優秀な参謀役なのだろ
I can't pretend to know much regarding his background, but he's exceptionally skilled at what he does. I wonder if he's a part of Ouroboros. Seems kind of strange if he were, though.
オ
Maybe.
リバルト殿下、
Actually,
実は私
I
あ
know
の
a
方の
little.
ことを知っているのです。
え
What?
あら
Oh,
う。それは本当かい？
is that true?
はい。
Yes. Claudia explained that Ledger once attended the same academy as her and had served as its student council president. She also mentioned about his sudden disappearance after the academy festival 2 years ago.
なんと。
Unbelievable.
もしやそれは
Then
鉄血宰相に連なる者が僕よりも前にリベールを訪れていた。
someone connected to the chancellor had visited Libero
つまり
first.
それは最小独自の情報網がすでにリベールに構築されていた可能性を示唆している。
Then he's very likely to have had his own veritable information network established here long before I even came up with the idea.
その可能性は高そうですな。
I think it's safe for us to assume that's the case.
情報部のクーデターから今回の輝く輪の異変まで、
Which also means that it's safe to assume he knows every detail about all that's happened here since.
その一部始終を把握されていてもおかしくはないでしょう。
From the coup d'etat to the crisis regarding the Oriole, all of it.
ほんととんでもないわね。
This man gets more unbelievable by the minute.
先ほど先輩から殿下への伝言を承りました。
He actually gave me a message to pass on to you earlier, too.
踊り疲れたところを怪物に飲み込まれないよう気をつけろだそうです。
Watch your back so you don't get swallowed up by that monster when you get tired of dancing.
やれやれ、痛いところをついてくるね。
He sure knows how to sting where it hurts, doesn't he?
なんだか別の快感に目覚めてしまいそうだよ。
I feel like I can see a whole new world of pleasure opening up before my eyes.
だがやられっぱなしは正直あまり趣味じゃないかな。
He should know better. Getting outdone at every turn like this is really not my style. What do you mean?
ユリア大尉、
Captain Schwartz?
出港したら一つお願いがあるんだが。
I have a little favor I'd like to ask for when we're in the air.
Oliver と王子悪くない仕上がりだ。
I'm rather impressed with how Prince Oliver has come
ど
along.
のように動いてくれてもそれはそれで使いようがある。
No matter how he chooses to act from here on, he will have his uses to be certain.
あんたにとって全ての要素は駒だからな。
You would say that, given that you think of everyone as your pawns?
あの王子もこの俺も、そして見食らう蛇とやらも。
There's me, the prince, that society. Well, I guess that deconfirms Ouroboros for Lecter.
そう。そして私自身もだ。
Indeed, I am much the same.
帝国という巨大な盤上を舞台にした魂が震えるような激動の遊戯。
We are but pawns on a vast game board that is the empire where a thrill like no other will take place.
お前もそれが見たいがために私についてきているのだろう。
It's because you too wish to see how that game plays out that you've chosen to stand with me, is it not?
ま、否定はしないけどな。
Oh hey, what can I say?
でもこの駒はいつ裏切るかわからないぜ。
Just don't forget that this piece right here might not be loyal forever.
それならそれで構わんよ。
And such a betrayal will be perfectly fine by me.
私がその可能性を考えていないとでも思ったか。
Or did you honestly think I'd never considered the possibility it may happen?
言ってみただけさ。
Just thought I'd come out and say it.
ところで他の子供たちはどうよ。
How are the other Iron Bloods doing, by the way?
どの子も順調のようだ。
They're all doing very well, by the sound of it.
この分では王子の頑張りも無駄に終わる可能性もあるだろう。
At the rate things are going, there's a chance all of the prince's efforts will be for naught.
やれやれ。少し手を抜いてあげるとしようか。
Perhaps I ought to hold back on him a little.
悪趣味な親父だ。
You sure don't pull any punches, do you?
なあ、最小学科。
You know something?
あんまり 侮らない方がいいかもしれないぜ。
I wouldn't write him off so easily if I were in your shoes.
何
What? What?
これは
These look like
バラの花
rose petals?
みたいだな。
皆様、右舷に現れましたのは
If you look out the windows on the right hand side of the airship, you'll be able to see the famous high-speed cruiser, Arseal.
アルセイユでございます。
Arseal,
本
rather.
日、エレボニア帝
We've
国
been
の
informed that it is on its way to the imperial capital with Prince Oliver of the Erebonian Erebonian Empire on
デートに
board.
向かうそうですが、その王子殿下から
But he has also given us a message to relay to all of the passengers on board
メッセ
today.
ージを賜っております。今日、この日に出会えた幸運を
I give thanks to Ideas for the good fortune to have been able to meet you today.
あなた方の旅に美し
May your
き
journey
バ
be
ラ
filled
と
with beautiful
女神の
roses
祝福
and her blessings.
そして
And of course, may your journey to your homes be a safe and
故
pleasant
郷
one.
にお戻りになってほしい。以上です。
That marks the end of his message. I never thought there was a bigger dumbass in this world than me. And yet, here we are. Very well, debaucherous prince.
この鉄血宰相にどこまで食い下がれるか。
I look forward to seeing what you can do.
せいぜいお手並みを拝見させてもらうとしよう。
Show me how long you can hold out against me. Side story, Return to the Empire finished. Ooh, that was a pretty lengthy one as well. Receive Divine Eye. Haven't seen that one yet. Oh, and 7K Mirror. Oh yeah. Just setting the pieces up for all the games I see. This is actually a really cool way, I have to say. Oh, we're in the finale chapter, so this is the last chapter. Let me see here. Divine Eye. What is that one? Curious what it does. What's it 3-1? Sent Eagle Eye Information, Septium Vein, and Luck? That is wild on a, that is wild. On like, just one thing? Oh no, it's definitely better on Ren. Go ahead and just get that there to Ren. Ooh, goodness. I just opened up so many, yeah, spells. Like, well, it didn't open up a lot more spells, but it did open up Arthellus to fully revives and heals all HP. Yeah, a full HP revive. That sounds nice. And I don't need Septium Vein anymore because I have Divine Eye on. So I can actually get rid of that. But I would lose something else, apparently. I could get range. I would lose the full HP revive, though. And looks like I would also lose, what was that? I'm not sure it's really a big deal, but yeah, I don't really need the range anyway, so it's fine. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching this episode of The Legend of Heroes Trails in the Sky the Third. It's been a pleasure. I'm also going to close out, because I don't think I did it at the beginning of this video, by saying you can also follow me on Twitch at twitch.tv/ProjectAurora, as well as joining the community Discord should you ever want to talk the game and lore and stuff like that, because I really like this game. I want to talk about it with people. Take care, everyone. Be safe. Stay Stay hydrated.